Let's go through the ELT paper, ACC 3 paper for semester 3. And our first question is, how does the grammar translation method contribute to the development of reading and analytical skills in ESL learners? The key characteristics of grammar translation method, that is, it focuses mainly on grammar and vocabulary. Translation exercises. Grammar translation method uses translation method and acts as a bridge between the language students are learning and their own native language. The advantages of grammar translation method, like structured learning, reading comprehension, cognitive development. The limitations of grammar translation method, like lack of communicative competence, emphasis on accuracy over fluency, and limited engagement. Next important question we have is, what does English as a second language mean? What is the importance of English as a second language? English as a second language refers to the process of teaching and learning English by individuals whose native language is not English. This educational approach is designed to help students master English for various purposes, including everyday communication, academic study, and professional development. English as a second language encompasses the teaching and learning of English by individuals whose first language is not English. Then we have the role of ESL as a global lingua franca. It facilitates international trade, it enhances educational opportunities. Reflection on the dynamic nature of language learning and acquisition. Next we have, what are the differences between English as a foreign language and English as a second language? On the context of learning, ESL is typically learned in an English-speaking country, where learners are immersed in an environment where English is the primary language. In contrast, EFL, or English as a foreign language, is learned in non-English speaking country, often within a classroom setting with limited real-world exposure to the language. This is also an important question, the differences between EFL and ESL. Next we have the teaching strategies for EFL as well as ESL. You can go through the notes. Next we have is comment on the direct method in English language and how is it different from grammar translation method. The direct method in English language teaching is a communicative approach that emphasizes immersion and the use of target language exclusively in the classroom. No translation is required in the direct method because it receives its name from the fact that meaning is to be conveyed directly in the target language through the use of demonstration and visual aids. Key principles include full immersion, inductive grammar learning, and oral communication focus. The merits of direct method you can go through, as well as the demerits. And how is it different from grammar translation method? The grammar translation method often creates a classroom environment focused on written text. Students engage with literary text rather than everyday conversation. The direct method fosters a more interactive learning environment. Lessons are conducted in the target language within an emphasis on real-life communication. Next we have, what are the aims and objectives of LSRW skills? The development of listening, speaking, reading and writing skills is fundamental in language education. These skills are interrelated and contribute significantly to a learner's overall proficiency in a language. Below are the aims and objectives of LSRW skills: comprehension, communication, critical thinking, cultural awareness, engagement, retention, fluency, confidence and integration, as well as lifelong learning. What are the skills necessary for LSRW? Listening, speaking, reading and writing. Next we have integration of skills and continuous practice. The next question, what are the problems faced in LSRW? Give some solutions to the problem. The problems faced are listening difficulties, imbalance in skill development, resistance to innovative methods, lack of authentic materials, integration of skills and assessment challenges. The solution is practicing listening, active listening exercises, use of real-life resources, task-based learning, collaborative learning, as well as clear assessment criteria, formative assessments and professional development through pilot programs. In the next unit, we have teaching English in Indian context, the status of English in India, the historical context, role of education, and the economic and global significance of English as a language, as well as challenges in English language teaching. Aims of ESL teaching in India: language proficiency, academic success, career opportunities, cultural understanding, social mobility, global communication, and critical thinking. Major issues in ESL teaching in India: multilingual diversity, socio-economic disparities, inadequate infrastructure, teacher training deficiencies, large class size, cultural sensitivity issues, traditional teaching methods, and psychological barriers. Next, we have the approaches and methods in English as second language. As we have discussed, grammar translation method, direct method. Next, we have communicative language teaching, audiolingual method, and task-based language teaching. Audiolingual method focuses on pronunciation with minimal grammar explanation. It emphasizes on the oral skills and structured learning and use of the visual aids. You can go through the notes. As well as the demerits, like it has limited grammar instruction, neglect of writing skills, mechanical learning, and poor transfer to real communication. Then we have task-based learning teaching method. Its merits are: promotes meaningful communication, encourages spontaneity, enhances engagement, develops real-world skills, facilitates vocabulary acquisition, supports collaborative learning, flexible learning environment, focus on outcomes. Next, we have the demerits of task-based learning language teaching. It is time-consuming. It has the potential to be poorly implemented, limited focus on form, variable student readiness, and assessment challenges, as well as the risk of disengagement and cultural misalignment. Next, we have what are the qualities, features, and strategies of a good language learner. The qualities of a good language learner include motivation, open-mindedness, perseverance, patience, adaptability, good memory, confidence, and the features include pattern recognition, communication strategies, tolerance for ambiguity, self-monitoring, and the various strategies employed by good language learners are risk-taking, finding personal learning styles, contextual learning, thinking in the target language. Learning styles of good language learners include the visual learners, auditory learners, and kinesthetic learners. Communicative language teaching method has emerged as a transformative approach in the field of language education, emphasizing interaction and the practical use of language in real life context. The main objectives of communicative language teaching are: it helps to cultivate communicative competence, which includes linguistic, sociolinguistic, discourse, and strategic competences. The key principles include focus on meaningful communication, contextualization. The teacher role shifts from being an instructor to that of a facilitator or guide. Task-based learning is a cornerstone of communicative language teaching, and student-centered learning. The final question we have is acquisition and learning. The definition of the term acquisition and learning. Acquisition refers to the subconscious process of absorbing a language through natural exposure, akin to how children learn their first language, L1. It is characterized by an intuitive grasp of linguistic structures without formal instruction. For instance, as Krashen posits, acquisition involves the subconscious acceptance of knowledge, whereas learners engage with language in context, often without explicit awareness of grammatical rules or vocabulary. The characteristics of acquisition include natural context, speed, conscious effort, and focus on rules. So I think we have completed the whole paper of ELT. You can go through all the PDFs that is available in our group. You can check the link of our group in the comment section and you will get the PDF. And I think your questions will come from this, and it is quite sure because this is all based on the previous year papers that the university has asked.